Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're unpacking the incredible blueprint of human irrationality. We'll be analyzing a truly groundbreaking document, a detailed map of research that completely breaks down the hidden forces shaping our everyday decisions. You know, we all love to think we're in the driver's seat, right? That we're completely rational and totally logical. But as this research reveals, our minds are actually playing by a completely different set of rules. So let's dive right into this roadmap of our own bizarre behaviors. We're going to move logically through 5 key areas today. Welcome to irrationality, the quirks of value, emotions and self-control, the context of character, and wrapping up with behavioral economics explained. Section 1, Welcome to Irrationality. Let's begin by looking at the absolute foundation of this research and how our minds actually perceive the world around us. It's actually fascinating that this massive exploration into universal human behavior stems directly from a deeply personal catalyst. The research begins by detailing how a profound personal injury led straight to the discovery of these hidden forces. It really sets the stage for everything that follows. Right out of the gate, we're hit with this core paradox of human nature, relativity. The truth is, everything is relative in human perception, even when it logically makes no sense at all. Our minds are seemingly incapable of evaluating things in isolation. We constantly rely on comparisons rather than absolute values. And that's exactly why things like the price of pearls, or even how you feel about your own salary compared to your coworkers, can be completely up in the air. Section 2, The Quirks of Value. Now let's see how this relativity builds into the incredibly strange, illogical ways we assign value to everyday objects and favors. This brilliantly illustrates the massive friction between doing favors and doing work. When we're operating other social norms, we're usually incredibly happy to do favors for each other. But the second we introduce market norms, meaning the moment we actually get paid to do those exact same things, our motivation completely flips upside down. Literally, just by introducing money into the equation, a friendly favor suddenly turns into a poorly compensated job. It's wild. Which brings us to this captivating question: why in the world does a 50-cent aspirin do what a penny aspirin can't? Well, the research reveals this comes down to the effect of expectations. Basically, the idea that the mind gets exactly what it expects. The sheer power of price alters our perceptions so heavily that a more expensive pill literally changes our physical expectations. It proves that our wallets are directly affecting our physical pain. So the crucial point about the endowment effect, or the high price of ownership, is that mere ownership instantly inflates value. We systematically overvalue what we already have. It's this hidden force dictating our everyday choices. Once an item is ours, we suddenly assign a premium to it that simply didn't exist before we owned it. Honestly, it's the exact reason you probably refuse to throw away that ratty old coffee mug. Section 3, Emotions and Self-Control. Now we're going to pivot away from objects and pricing and turn inward to look at the internal battles we wage against our own impulses, arousal, and self-control. Here, the research dives into the intense influence of arousal, basically showing us that hot is much hotter than we realize. The researchers meticulously studied how sudden shifts in arousal alter everything from evaluating the attractiveness of certain activities to the likelihood of engaging in immoral behaviors, right down to our tendency to use birth control. It absolutely proves how drastic shifts in our emotional state alter everything from safe sex and safe driving all the way to our overarching life decisions. And right on the heels of that is the profound problem of procrastination. Why can't we just make ourselves do what we want to do? I mean, we know we should save for retirement, we know we should go to the doctor, but why does our irrational mind constantly fight against our own best interests? It's a deeply frustrating irrationality that affects highly critical areas of our lives that require long-term planning. As we navigate deeper into this research, we transition a bit away from our daily struggles. We learn how simply trying to keep our options open actually actively distracts us from our main objectives. And that perfectly sets the stage before we move all the way into the profound question of our own morality and character. Which brings us to Section 4, the context of character. This is a fascinating 2-part exploration of honesty, deceit, and what really drives our moral compass when nobody is looking. We start by breaking down the actual mechanisms of our dishonesty. The text asks why we're dishonest, and crucially, what we can actually do about it. Fascinatingly, the researchers even look at ancient moral codes, like the 10 Commandments, as potential structural countermeasures to our completely predictable tendencies to cheat. Then we're introduced to a genuinely bizarre psychological quirk: why dealing with cash makes us more honest. Just think about that for a second. Separating ourselves from physical cash somehow makes it easier for us to abandon our character. When hard currency is removed from the table, like, say, swiping a plastic card instead of handing over a crisp $20 bill, our irrational minds suddenly find it so much easier to bend the rules.
Finally, we arrive at Section 5, Behavioral Economics Explained. This is the culmination of all these specific irrationalities, from pricing tricks to procrastination to our totally flexible morality.
This section attempts to tie all these hidden forces together under one massive umbrella: beer and free lunches. The research takes all the flaws in our decision-making process, our inability to judge zero cost, our skewed expectations, our struggles with self-control, and it searches for the proverbial free lunches. Basically, it's asking, now that we know how fundamentally flawed we are, how can we use behavioral economics to actually improve our lives? And mapping all this out was absolutely no small feat. The sheer volume and complexity of the hidden forces we face is really underscored by the extensive list of elite collaborators required for this research. Just look at some of these names: Anna Mir, Marco Bertini, Ziv Karman, and a massive list of other elite thinkers. It literally took an army of brilliant minds to document just how irrational the rest of us really are. Which leaves us with this final, absolutely vital question. Since our quirks, from the perceived power of a 50-cent aspirin to the way we overvalue our own possessions, right down to how physical cash alters our honesty, are this fundamentally ingrained in our blueprint? Are we truly in control of our choices? Or are we just, well, predictably irrational? I really hope this explainer has challenged the way you view your own daily decisions. Keep questioning your choices, and thanks for learning with us today.